Welcome to Saltbridge Gardens. This will be my final project in Planet Coaster, and as the name suggests, it will be a garden style park. I thought it would be a nice way to wrap things up before Planet Coaster 2, since it is something that I've just always wanted to try out. But the park design this little intro made is actually not the way this park started. It was originally located in a dense maple forest. I still kinda like the vibe that I went for, but it turned out to be a bit too much of a challenge. Mainly because of the limited number of red toned trees in this game. Half the map is also just a highway interchange. I mean, I like myself a nice looking road, but that's a bit too much, even for me. Over the last couple of years, I've created a fair amount of parks on this channel. For the most part, I've always been extremely happy with the outcome of these, but my goal for my final park is to truly get it to perfection, or as good as I possibly can. I want to put everything that I love about this game into this final project and create something that I'm truly proud of, so on that note, let's get into the first ever build montage of hopefully many to come. So here we are, most of the surrounding infrastructure is now mostly done, and you probably noticed that the foliage is mostly done as well. I'm sorry if you wanted to see that being built, but it was just so repetitive that I decided to cut it out. Now, before we move on to the next section, I would just like to take a moment to explain the plan and vibe that I'm going for with this park. I obviously said that I wanted it to be a garden style park, but in reality that could really mean a whole lot of different things. But my plan is to focus more on creating a beautiful park, or a garden in this case, with rides in it instead of what I've previously done, which is to focus more on the rides and let the park form around them. I really want to think through every area and not just resort to filling it with concrete or some random planter, really make the park feel more alive. A whole different thing that I also want to have with this park is a sort of backstory, but let's talk a bit more about that when we build the entrance area. Just to clarify, this isn't going to be a very elaborate backstory, it's more just there to give me some inspiration and something to strive towards. So, Saltbridge Garden, as the area is known as, has previously been used as a mining area to extract salt. It once had an extensive railway network, which is now mostly defunct. However, where the track has once been is now replaced by a road, even reusing one of the bridges. On a later date, the decaying mining area was rebuilt as a garden and open to the public. It stayed solely as a garden for multiple decades with little interest and the cost getting too high. The only reasonable thing to do was selling it. This brings us up to date, where it is imaginative company buying this property and reopening it as a theme park. So, the backstory is explained and the first part of this series is completely finished, but before we leave, let's do a quick walkthrough of what we built. Also, please consider liking and subscribing if you've enjoyed watching this episode. I've put a lot of effort into it and I would highly appreciate you helping me out. I know it's kind of a backwards way of doing it, but I'd like to start off this walkthrough with the entrance building and then talk a bit more about surroundings. I don't know, it just feels right. But as you can tell, I went for a kind of Victorian style for this building, or at least that is what I tried going for. I really wanted it to have a bunch of intricate design work, but also not too much to the point where it feels over-decorated. Just as a side note, I'm obviously going for a pretty realistic park, but it's definitely not going to be a low-budget one. And now, one of the standout points of this building is the fact that it has a monorail station built into it. This is very inspired by the entrance building for Disney World, I believe, and if we go around to the back of the building, Yet the back is also very inspired by the same entrance. I have to say though, this might be my favorite design that I've ever done in Planet Coaster, and when it's under the right lighting, it just looks amazing. I also added this tiny bit of garden area just to show the style that I'm going for, although how long we'll be going for is another question. This park is already well over 30,000 pieces. The entrance plaza is fairly simplistic, but I've really put a lot of thought into it, making it feel connected to everything in a realistic and intuitive way. I'm also very happy with how the parking turned out, although explaining how to traverse this thing probably needs a whole video in of itself. I think this is a pretty good place to end this video. I'll put up some glamour shots of the area, but thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you again in the next one.